Hello and welcome to Extra with me, Toby.
And me, Scott. In today's show, we'll be looking at the struggles students face when trying to get jobs in the media.
We're going to be looking into Exeter City Football Club to see what's in store for them in the near future.
And we're also going to be looking at the problems with alcohol in the southwest.
As well as this, we're also going to be looking into the problems that most media students face today when trying to get a job in the industry. Where do we go to that? Just around Devon, mostly Plymouth, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to head over to Toby, who earlier on went to around Devon, searching for the answers.
Hi, I'm Toby, and today we're going to be looking into the challenges that most media students face today when trying to break into the industry. Today we're going to be interviewing Luke Lovell, a past BBC producer and now media lecturer.
First thing to do is obviously do well in your studies. Get to level 3, and then you can get into the industry once you get a level 3 qualification. However, I would say if you can go on to university and do a good degree, if you get into the industry, you'll climb the ladder quicker with a degree than if you went in without a degree. It's not saying you won't get the job if you don't have a degree, but it'll help you once you're there.
So even though it's hard to get into the industry, people still seem to be keen. We spoke to some students around the college to see what they wanted to do.
Look around in mainly Plymouth area, because that's the TV industry is like at its best in Devon. I'll probably go there and look for an apprenticeship.
Well, I kind of want to go to uni and see what I can get in the TV industry, really.
Get some work experience, because I haven't really yet worked in the media industry. I want to see what it's like first.
So it seems that every student has their own different way to get into the industry. We went to Plymouth to interview John Govia, a producer and presenter at Radio Devon, to talk about how he got into the industry.
People say to me now, how do you make the leap? Because I had my own pub, so how do you make the leap from running a pub to being in the media industry? But actually there are a lot of similarities. You get up early, you go to bed late, you smile at people when sometimes you don't necessarily feel like smiling. You have to chat to people, you learn all about the ins and outs of everybody that you're speaking to, and I guess generally I'm a nosy person and I love knowing about other people. You must find novel ways of making yourself attractive to the industry and also making people aware of you, and that might be, you know, getting yourself onto a programme, actually doing a bit of work and then sending that off. I think you're unlikely these days just to be in the right time, right place, as I was.
So John and Luke both agree that getting into the industry is all about hard work, good grades and perseverance. This has been Toby Saunders reporting from East Devon. Back to the studio.
Well, thanks for that, Toby. I hope some people at home took some good advice from that.
That's right, and also we've got Ben Woodhouse here today in the studio.
Hi.
To tell us a bit about, he's a media lecturer at Exeter College, and he's going to tell us about what some of his students do when they go on from Exeter College.
Well, I mean, studying media means you're qualified to do quite a lot of things, really. You learn so many skills that you can transfer, not just in filmmaking or TV production, but that could be radio production, working in advertising, marketing. So there's lots of options, and really you're only limited by your own desire and your own determination. And certainly students in the past have gone on to do lots of different things. Lots of people have gone into film production, and one of my first tutees worked on the Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll film, the working title film last year. So that was quite exciting to see his name and to think, well, actually, you know, that started for him on this course. That was his first. He did engineering and then switched to doing media production, and now he's working on major British movies, so that was really exciting. Mm.
Yeah, do you think it's necessary for people to go on to things like uni afterwards, or is there a certain way to get into it?
Well, there's no one route into the media, and that's really frustrating for me, really, because I can't really advise students one way or the other, because it's really going to be down to you guys when you leave here, what happens next. I'd still say university is probably the best thing to do, because it still does give you 3 years of getting more mature, getting to understand filmmaking a bit better, or TV production, whatever it is you go and do, and also meeting new friends, meeting other people who are interested. And I think that's all really, really important in developing your own skills. So when you come out at the end of it, you're that little bit older, that little bit more mature, and I think, you know, it still is a very valuable thing, but not necessary, ultimately.
Mm. Now, we also know it's not all just about big blockbusters. You worked in the local news industry for a while. What was that like?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really exciting. It's an amazing business to be in. Every day is different. You have to get up very early, which is what kind of sort of led me to teaching in the end, because I thought, oh, that sounds a little bit better. A 9 o'clock start rather than a 6 o'clock start. So, but it's very, very exciting. Every day is different. You never really know what to expect because of course, you know, there was always the chance that something big could happen at any minute and you'd have to drop everything and go and cover it. So that was always really exciting.
And also, what would you say, the highlight or the big moment in your career?
Well, I've had loads of moments that I look back on and I find it funny or I really love. And but I think the biggest chuff I ever had was when I was a journalist and I was working for a press office for a government agency, and there was a big emergency on, and it just so happened that I was the only public relations person, you know, available at the weekend. And I briefed the Cabinet Office, and I saw Tony Blair reading out my words later on the news that day, and that was like, wow, that was brilliant.
Well, thanks for that, Ben. And this year, we've also been looking into the struggles that Exeter City have been facing. They've been relegated from League One, and they've got a lot of injured players. They've faced some harsh defeats, and it's not going too well for them at all.
No, but luckily the Exeter City Supporters Trust has kept them going. We're going to head over to Adam Gallen, who went to Exeter City earlier to see what the problems the club have been facing.
Captain David Noble gave the fans something to cheer about this season, scoring many an important goal, but unfortunately that wasn't enough to avoid a drop. Now the stands are empty and Exeter are out of pocket by £350,000 for league payments. It's clear there's a tough time ahead for the club. I'm here at St James's Park after a disappointing end to the season. We saw them have 10 wins, 12 draws, unbelievable 24 losses. I'm here to find out exactly what went wrong.
2 or 3 really root causes. One, we were extremely unlucky with injuries. We never really quite got going until right at the end, when I think most people would say we looked a terrific side. I think we'll see probably good news on the stadium development in the months ahead. It's not for me to confirm that, but I'm sure we'll see good news on that. That would be an amazing boost.
Even though it didn't end well for Exeter, the future's looking bright. We spoke to Frank Seeley to find out how the trust is important to the club's recovery.
It is the leading trust-owned club in the country now. A lot of other clubs are looking at the model by virtue of the fact that they are going out of business, and not least of all the Wrexhams and the AFC Wimbledons. They've all taken on the role of having a trust whereby the supporters actually run the club and support their club.
We don't have debt, we don't have any money, but we don't have debt. We have a good name in the community, we've got good young players coming through, we've got a good infrastructure, so I think our plans for the future are to continue as we are and keep on going forward.
So, it wasn't meant to be for Exeter this year, but I'm sure all the Grecian fans will be back next year for an all-important promotion spot. Adam Gallen at St James's Park, back to the studio.
Thank you for that, Adam. So, Ben, are you a fan of football?
Yeah, I am. I don't watch the Premiership much. I mean, that's a bit like sort of EastEnders on grass to me. You know, that's you know, drama. But I am a regular at Exeter City, and in fact, I'm one of the supporters trust members. Yeah. So I can legitimately say that I do own a very little bit of our football club, which is quite kind of a unique thing. I think it's the only really trust-run clubs in the same way that we are. It's Exeter City and Barcelona. So that kind of puts us on a kind of an interesting sort of pedestal, I like to think. And certainly in English football, I mean, it's quite unique. And lots of other clubs look to us as a model of how to get out of this boom and bust cycle that loads of football clubs are in. I mean, you just got to look at Rangers, you know, and that, you know, into administration, starting in a lower division. Yeah. So, you know, it's really a great thing that the fans themselves own the club, and I'm really proud of that.
So do you think Exeter City will be able to get out of this minor pothole?
Well, probably not. I mean, the reality is that it's a great way to run a club, and it's got really great links with the community, but it doesn't have a lot of money. You need a wealthy owner to be able to support the kind of players you need to compete in League One, Championship and Premiership. So maybe we're at the level that we can sustain, but you know, as long as you're going to see good football week in, week out, and it's a good atmosphere, then yeah, that's all you ask for, really.
Well, Exeter has a huge student population of over 6,000, and while this is good news for local pubs and clubs, students drinking too much comes with antisocial problems and rather drunken behaviour.
The government is quite worried recently that with all this preloading or pre-party drinking, it's going to cause serious health problems for young people. Maddie Pearcy is in Exeter with more.
Exeter is home to approximately 15,000 students. In effect, that is more than the entire population of towns such as Teignmouth and Sidmouth. The city's increasing rise of drinking problems has risen by 30.9%, but is it really the students' fault?
Give me my Merlot, my Pinot Grigio, give me my Chandon, we mix the alcohol. Don't need no 12 steps, shots all night, gas and no regrets.
The government states that the effect of binge drinking can lead to antisocial, aggressive or violent behaviour. Alcohol is a factor in 1 in 3 sexual offences, a third of burglaries and half of street crimes. We spoke to the team of experts that help keep Exeter City Centre clean. They also talk about the problems and where it starts.
Got the late night economy, which is tends to be your Friday and Saturdays, but can be any day of the week in Exeter because of the student sort of population from the college and from the university. And so your areas where it causes big concern are the top of 4th Street by British Home Stores, a little bit around the Timepiece nightclub around High Street and Sybil Street, where there's a lot of takeaways, and you've got the Arena nightclub situated just off Sybil Street.
And get smashed at home, and then they'll come in town to have a good time. So what we're faced with is a huge number of people turning up in town drunk before they've even reached the first pub. And that's because the shops and the pubs are competing. Shops are selling alcohol cheaper and cheaper at the moment, and pubs, to try and get their custom back, are doing deals and selling alcohol cheaper and cheaper, so everybody's having a whale of a time.
According to government statistics, the average amount of units a person should have per day is 3 units, which equals out to be approximately 3 bottles of Carlsberg. However, due to preloading, binge drinking is proven to dramatically affect people's health, as the average person will drink more than 3 times the amount and more in one night.
Critical and damaging effect it has on relationships and families and society as a whole, and that must be a starting point for our work, because unless we address the problems that occur in the city centre, we're actually responsible for not dealing with those wider issues in society.
As we all know, alcohol can be a dangerous substance if misused, but thanks to the help of police and council workers keeping the law in place, incidences such as death from alcohol poisoning are not repeated. Parliament are looking into changing the law for good so that our drinking habits aren't repeated on our education, community and the next generation.
Well, Maddie's just popped in to us from the gallery. And Maddie, what things should we be concerned about with excessive drinking?
Well, I think it's more about if you drink a lot, you're more likely to be violent, do things that you're regretting, and it just causes a lot of problems around the city, like people littering, like throwing things around, because when you're drunk, you're not as concerned about what you're doing.
Yeah. Do you think this will be a problem over the summer?
Definitely, I think, because there'll be more parties because people will have finished like college and they won't be doing so much work. So and with festivals and things, people will probably be, and teenagers will definitely be drinking more. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Maddie. She has to head back to the studio now to carry on with in the gallery.
Don't worry, just
But over the summer, we've seen that there are a lot of good films coming out.
There are good ones, yeah.
So we're just going to give you with our favourite 2. My film this week is all about The Dark Knight Rises, which there we go. It's all about that. I've seen a few trailers, and all of the main ones on YouTube have over 20 million views.
It definitely looks good.
And we don't see too much of Batman himself, which I think is cool, because meaning we don't know really what's coming in. Ben, you read the Batman graphic novels, didn't you? Do you think there's, how do you think it's going to fare up to the films?
Well, it's always very interesting when a new big film comes out, because obviously they slightly reinterpret the character and they play with it a bit. And all the comics down through history, I mean, Batman's a character that's been running for, what, 60 years or something? So, you know, every time you reinvent the character, you bring something else to it. And at the moment, it's no doubt, it's this super spectacular blockbuster is really exciting. But I think sometimes it has a tendency to because it's telling the story with a sledgehammer, and it misses the finer points of detail and the nuances and the subplot that sometimes the books and the comic books and some of the other films as well have really delved into. So hopefully we'll see a bit of that as well.
Also this summer we've got The Expendables 2 coming. It's back for war, as the slogan says. This time with actors Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chuck Norris. Did you know Death once had a near Chuck Norris experience?
Did you also know that Chuck Norris slams a revolving door?
Yes.
Do you know any Chuck Norris jokes, Ben?
Well, I do know that when Chuck Norris does a press-up, he's not pushing his body up, he's pushing the world down.
Anyway.
On to something slightly more entertaining than Ben's joke. If you've got a venture-filled summer, you'll want to know what kind of weather is coming up. So we're going to head over to Owen. What's the weather looking like for over the summer, Owen?
For English summer, I'm afraid, Scott. Lots of rain.
Hey, why
rain throughout Cornwall, so you might want to have a nice warm Cornish pasty at your home. Rain throughout Bristol, so Banksy better not use any chalk or his artwork could be washing away. Throughout London, and then pushing all the way up to Norfolk, so get your guitar out and write a nice sad song about the weather. You might want to blow dry your sheep, because in Wales, you know, they could be getting wet, so blow dry them when you come in. And there's going to be enough water for your Yorkshire tea up in Yorkshire. And then harsh winds pushing the rain over to Ireland. That's all right, they're all going to be in the pub anyway. And then harsh winds pushing the rain then up to Newcastle, up on Tyne. And then all the way up to Scotland, but that's all right because they get the weather there all year round anyway. So yeah, in summary, it's going to be some really harsh winds throughout the summer and really a lot of downpour, a lot of rain. And yeah, so you better pack your brolly, Scott. Back to you.
So it looks like we might be in for a bit of a typically British summer then this year.
So Ben, what have you got planned for over the summer?
Well, it's time off for me, so it'll be switching off, not thinking about students and deadlines and essays and reports and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, no work for me, and that's always quite a relief. And one of the best things about being a teacher, you certainly don't get that in the media industry. So that's definitely going to be in my plans. Maybe I'll catch up with some of the blockbusters as well. Maybe I'll see you at the cinema. I don't know.
Haven't we also got the college Oscars this Friday?
Well, that's right, yeah, college Oscars, and that's something that, you know, I'd like everyone to attend if they can. It's just a chance for us to kind of celebrate the best work that we've seen over the last year, and for a chance for all the groups to come together, support their friends, support their colleagues, and then, you know, have a great party.
Have you got any last advice for any media students out there who are looking to get into the industry?
Well, I think the most important thing is to stick with it. It doesn't really matter what you study at this stage. You're still very young at this stage, and it's just keep on trying. I mean, keep on pushing at the doors, and eventually, if you've proved yourself that you're capable and you're dedicated, you'll do really well.
Well, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for this show. But tune in at 3 o'clock when we'll have Crow's Nest.
Crow's Nest, yeah, it's gonna be a
featured
good one.
by Crow or Adam Jacks. But I think he prefers Crow now, doesn't he?
Yes, I've been Toby Saunders.
And I've been Scott Stevens.
Good night.